gang, what's up? It's Trollbot.EXE, and welcome back to Trollbot Studios with the final part in the history of Metal Heroes. Yes, this is the 6th and final part in the history of Metal Heroes. And today, we are covering the Metal Heroes in the 21st century, including Robotech's spiritual sequel, Robocon 2000, or by its real title, Burn, Robocon. Then we'll cover Gokaiger vs. Gavin, which is technically the first Gavin movie. And then we'll talk about the Space Sheriff Next Generation, and then go on to its conclusion. So, let's go on to that good old recap. Yee! So, previously on the history of Metal Heroes, I covered the B-Fighter series and its adaptation, Big Bad Beetleborgs. I briefly talked about the alterations that Beetleborgs added to the B-Fighter series. Then, I talked about Kabutak and Robotech. And I briefly talked about Kabutak's origins as Sea Fighter. And Kabutak was originally supposed to be the third entry in the B-Fighter series, which would have made it a trilogy just like the Space Sheriffs. And I also covered Robotech, the final entry in the Metal Hero series. So, let's get to the video. Yee! Burning Robocon, or as I like to call it, Robocon 2000, is a modern-day remake of the original Robocon show. The original Robocon having ran from 1974 to 1977. It was made to take Robotech's place in its time slot and be the third show in the Robo-comedy line, hence why it's rumored to be the 18th Metal Hero series. However, despite similarities to the last two entries, aka Kabutak and Robotech, Robocon 2000 is not a Metal Hero series. The main character, Robocon, does not have a fighting form. Also, while those shows heavily use CGI, aka Kabutak and Robotech, Robocon only uses suit actors and costumes. The main presence of the show is that the characters are supposed to collect heart marks during the school year in order to graduate from robotics school. Yet the final episode makes no mention of this plot and was just like a normal episode, leaving the main plotline unresolved. The show was actually really popular with kids and parents alike, with some parents having seen the original Robocon. It also helped that this was an Ishinomori original show, allowing for the Heisei Kamen Rider series to begin, because Robocon was taking the place of the Metal Hero franchise, which, unlike Robocon, was created by Saburo Yatsuri. Saburo Yatsuri merely being a pen name for Toei staff. And they have actually been using this pen name since the early 1970s. Also, despite sluggish toy sales, Robocon still achieved average ratings of 9.2%. Not bad. Also, one more fun fact about Saburo Yatsuri is that they've actually used the pen name for anime until 1999. From then on, they used the pen name Izumi Todo. Despite that, they continue using Yatsuri for tokusatsu. Okay, let's go on to Gokaiger vs. Gavin. Which was made to celebrate the 35th Super Sentai and the 30th anniversary of the first Metal Hero series, Space Sheriff Gavin. This actually kinda revived the Metal Hero franchise to an extent, as the movie was released in January of 2012. This was the first of what would be many crossovers between the two franchises, and the Metal Heroes would even cross over with both Kamen Riders and Super Sentai. Since 1995, Super Sentai had direct-to-video crossover movies between the current team and the previous one, starting with Ole vs. Kakuranger, being a crossover between O-Ranger and Kakuranger. And actually, the first Sentai crossover was way back in 1978, was JAKQ versus Go Ranger. Ole vs. Kakuranger is actually the second crossover, and when these events became a yearly tradition. Also, unlike the Versus series, which is every crossover between Super Sentai since Ole vs. Kakuranger, JAKQ vs. Go Ranger was actually released in theaters. Mainly because the VHS market wasn't big in Japan until the 1980s, and also, VHSs were only released the previous year. The Gokaigers already had a crossover with Goseiger, with Gokaiger, Goseiger, Super Sentai 199 Great Battle. Combined with Gavin being 30 years old, and it sparked the creation of this crossover. Also, it resulted in Gavin getting his own movie later that October, with Space Sheriff Gavin the movie. Building on Gokaiger vs. Gavin, Space Sheriff Gavin the movie was released in October of 2012. A lot of the cast and crew from the original show returned to reprise their roles, including Kenji Oba himself. In this movie, two friends, Geki Jumanji and Toya, fulfilling their childhood dreams, go to space. However, the ship mysteriously disappears. A year later, Itsuki, their friend, is kidnapped by Zan Vardo of the Maku. But Gavin arrives to do battle with Vardo and successfully defeats him, the former revealing himself to be Geki. The movie was a success, being shown in 171 theaters, and inspiring a direct-to-video movie series called Space Sheriff's Next Generation, a duology of movies focusing on Sherivan and Scheider's successors. Other than the crossovers, that's it. So, despite being discontinued way back in 1999, the franchise has had somewhat of a presence, even though only the Space Sheriffs really get any love, to the point that Japanese Wikipedia actually classifies them as their own sub-franchise. Despite that, the Metal Heroes are relatively obscure in comparison with other tokusatsu franchises like Kamen Rider and Ultraman. They still have a fan base, even though a large portion of it is likely from Beetleborgs and VR Troopers. So, that's the end. And you're probably asking, what do I have planned next for the next video? Well, I'll tell you. I plan on putting my focus on the Hall of Menaces series and Trollbot Gaming. Also, I actually have a new opening and ending in store that you will hear next time. So, next time, I will be covering Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan, and why he is on demon timing. So until then, later, fools.
大地が轟き風がうなるそれはそうそれはあ